Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into some of the most colorful expressions in the English language?
Oh, you mean idioms?
Yeah, those tricky phrases that can make you sound like a native speaker but also leave you scratching your head if you're not in the know.
I know exactly what you mean. They can be real head scratchers sometimes.
We've got a great resource here called 20 Idioms to Sound Like a Native.
Oh, nice.
We're going to break them down, explore their meanings, and most importantly, show you how to use them confidently in your own conversations.
Sounds like fun. I think idioms are fascinating. They're like cultural fingerprints, you know.
What do you mean by that? Like, how do they reveal something about a culture?
We'll take break the ice, for example.
Yeah, that's a classic.
On the surface, it just means to start a conversation, right?
Right.
But there's a deeper layer there. It's about overcoming that initial awkwardness,
That makes sense.
which is a concept, that's particularly valued in Western cultures where individual initiative is emphasized.
Oh, I see. So it's not just about talking, it's about taking that first step, making things happen.
Exactly. And,
Mhm.
in some cultures, silence might be valued more in those initial interactions. So break the ice might not translate so well.
That's a great point. Okay, so we've broken the ice on break the ice.
Yeah, I guess we have.
What about another one from our list? How about hit the nail on the head?
Oh, that's a good one too. It highlights precision and accuracy. Right.
Mhm.
Getting something exactly right.
Yeah, like getting straight to the point. No beating around the bush.
Exactly. And again, that reflects a cultural value, in this case, a value on direct communication.
It's funny how these seemingly simple phrases can reveal so much about how a society thinks.
It really is.
Okay, so we've talked about starting conversations, but what about revealing secrets?
Ooh, juicy.
Our source gives us spill the beans and let the cat out of the bag.
And they both mean to reveal a secret, right? But there's a subtle difference between the two that I find interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, spill the beans often implies an accidental reveal.
Like you didn't mean to say it.
Yeah, whereas let the cat out of the bag suggests a more deliberate or careless act.
Like maybe you were trying to keep a secret, but then you just blurted it out without thinking.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the imagery is so vivid, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can just picture that cat escaping and the secret spreading like wildfire.
It's hard to forget an idiom like that.
Okay, let's switch gears to something a little lighter. Something that's a
Piece of cake.
haha, exactly piece of cake. It's all about ease and simplicity.
I always found it interesting how often we use food metaphors to describe abstract concepts.
Oh, that's true. It's like we're trying to make complex ideas more, well, digestible, more relatable.
Exactly.
And it's interesting how piece of cake contrasts with bite the bullet,
Yeah.
another idiom on our list.
Oh, yeah.
That one implies facing something difficult head on,
Right, like you're bracing yourself for something unpleasant.
like finally starting that workout routine you've been putting off.
Exactly. It's that moment of decision, pushing through the initial resistance.
Okay, so we've talked about facing challenges. Now let's talk about what happens when you work really hard to overcome those challenges, sometimes late into the night.
You mean like burning the midnight oil?
Exactly. It paints such a vivid picture, doesn't it? Late nights, deadlines looming, fueled by coffee and determination.
I know that feeling all too well.
Yeah.
It's almost a badge of honor in our always-on work culture, right?
You know, it makes me wonder if we're glorifying overwork a little too much.
That's an interesting thought. Maybe burn the midnight oil needs a modern update, something that reflects a more balanced approach to work and life.
I like that idea. What if we said something like,
Recharge under the midday sun.
haha, I love it.
Mm.
Okay, let's move on to idioms about taking charge and making decisions.
That's good.
We've got the ball is in your court.
That's a classic for sure. It really emphasizes a shift in responsibility, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's often used in negotiations, but I think it applies to everyday life too.
Oh, totally. Imagine you're making plans with friends and you've tossed out some ideas, you've made suggestions, right?
So now
Now, the ball's in their court. It's their turn to decide.
it's about acknowledging that you've done your part, and now it's up to someone else to make the next move. And sometimes that can be empowering.
You know what else can be empowering?
What's that?
Having enough money so that things don't.
Cost an arm and a leg.
Yes. Cost an arm and a leg. I swear, that idiom feels more and more relevant every day.
Tell me about it. It's like everything is so expensive these days.
It's interesting how idioms can capture the zeitgeist, the prevailing mood of a particular time.
Yeah, like a collective sigh of, wow, things are really pricey. But sometimes what feels like a financial burden can actually lead to something positive.
You're thinking of a blessing in disguise.
Exactly. It's about finding good fortune in unexpected places, even in situations that initially seem negative.
Like losing a job and then ending up finding a career path you're truly passionate about.
It's funny how what felt like a setback can actually be a turning point for the better.
It really is.
And that kind of ties into hit the books, another idiom on our list.
Oh, yeah, good one.
It emphasizes effort and perseverance. Like, yeah, studying might be tough in the moment, but that hard work can lead to those blessings in disguise down the road.
So true.
Okay, let's have some fun with this next one. When pigs fly, which basically means
Never.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a playful way to express disbelief. Like, yeah, right, that'll happen when pigs sprout wings and take flight.
It's almost like a challenge, isn't it? Like, prove me wrong.
And it's so different from jump on the bandwagon, which is about following trends, sometimes without thinking too critically.
Oh, yeah. It's that everyone's doing it, so I should too mentality.
Mhm.
Whether it's a fashion fad or a certain way of thinking, the pull of the bandwagon can be strong.
It's like that fear of missing out, that urge to belong, even if it means sacrificing your own individuality. Okay, we talked about starting conversations, revealing secrets, facing challenges, expressing disbelief.
What's next?
Yeah. Giving up.
Oh,
And we have the perfect idiom for that. Throw in the towel.
such a powerful image, right? That moment of surrender.
Yeah, it can be a really tough decision to make.
It takes a lot of courage to admit defeat and move on.
Sometimes it's the most liberating decision you can make, though.
You know, it's interesting to contrast that with by the skin of your teeth, which is all about barely making it, barely escaping failure.
Like our source said, I passed the test by the skin of my teeth. It's that feeling of relief mixed with a bit of disbelief. Like, wow, I can't believe I actually pulled that off.
And it often involves an element of luck, doesn't it?
Like fate was on your side, even if just by a hair.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered pushing through, letting go, experiencing those close calls, and acknowledging defeat. Now let's shift gears to an idiom that offers some sage advice. Don't cry over spilled milk.
Ah, that's a good one. It's all about resilience and acceptance, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about focusing on what you can control rather than dwelling on what's already happened. We all experience disappointments, but it's how we respond that matters.
Do we wallow in regret or do we pick ourselves up and move forward?
Exactly. Okay. Ready for an idiom that often throws people off because it seems completely counterintuitive?
Bring it on.
It's break a leg.
Haha. I love that one. People always get a kick out of it.
It's actually an expression of good luck, right?
Yeah, often used in the theater world. It's pretty funny when you think about it.
So the next time someone tells you to break a leg, don't take it literally. They're actually wishing you the best.
Now, let's talk about efficiency, something I know we both value.
I'm all ears.
Well, we've got this idiom, kill two birds with one stone.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
It's about maximizing your efforts and achieving multiple goals at once.
The multitasking master's motto.
It does make you wonder, though, doesn't it? All this focus on efficiency. Does it ever lead to overwhelm? Are we so focused on killing two birds that we miss out on the simple joy of doing one thing well?
That's a great point. Maybe sometimes it's okay to just focus on one bird at a time.
You know, slowing down, simplifying.
Maybe that's what Hit the Sack is all about.
Ah, yes. The perfect way to end a long day filled with idioms and deep conversations.
It just evokes a sense of cozy relaxation. Time to recharge.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, we'll wrap up this part of the deep dive on that note.
Sounds good to me. Welcome back. It's amazing how many layers of meaning we've uncovered already, you know, just from a handful of idioms.
I know. It really makes you think about the power of language, right? And you mentioned earlier that idioms can reveal cultural values. Are there any other examples that come to mind?
Well, let's go back to don't cry over spilled milk for a second.
Okay.
On the surface, it's practical advice, you know, like just accept your mistake and move on. But I think it reflects a distinctly American emphasis on pragmatism, on individualism.
Oh, interesting. So it's about taking responsibility for your actions, finding solutions instead of dwelling on the past.
Exactly. Now, imagine you're in a culture where interdependence and harmony are more highly valued.
Okay.
They might have idioms that emphasize, you know, seeking support from others or learning from shared experiences, that kind of thing.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's like each culture has its own unique set of linguistic tools for navigating life, right?
I think so. Now, think about kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, that one's all about efficiency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But could it also maybe reflect a pitfall of modern life?
Yeah.
This tendency to overwork, to multitask to the point of burnout.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like, we're so obsessed with maximizing our time that we forget to slow down and appreciate the process.
Maybe hit the sack is a subtle rebellion against all that.
Uh-huh. That's a funny way to think about it.
But it's like we're saying, okay, world, I'm done for the day. Time to rest and recharge.
Time to dream of more idioms.
Exactly. And speaking of dreams, what about when pigs fly? It captures that sense of impossibility, the utterly improbable.
It's like saying, yeah, right, that'll happen when pigs sprout wings and soar through the sky.
It's dismissive, but with a touch of humor, I think.
It's funny how we use animals in so many idioms, you know? Pigs, cats, birds.
I think it adds a certain whimsy to the language.
Yeah, man.
And it makes them more memorable, right?
Totally. Okay, let's contrast when pigs fly with jump on the bandwagon.
Oh, yeah, good one. That one's all about following trends, often without questioning them too much.
Right. It's like that feeling of everyone else is doing it, so I should too.
And they can apply to so many things, fashion, social media, even politics.
It makes you think about conformity versus individuality, doesn't it?
When is it wise to follow the crowd? And when do you need to trust your own judgment?
That's a great question. Okay, let's talk about giving up. Sometimes it's necessary, right?
Sometimes it is. And I think throw in the towel captures that moment perfectly.
It's not always easy to admit defeat, though. It takes strength to let go.
I think so too. But sometimes it's the best thing you can do. It allows you to move on to something better.
It's like that boxer who realizes it's better to step out of the ring than to risk a serious injury.
Exactly. It's about knowing your limits.
Hmm.
Okay, now imagine a scenario where you almost gave up, but you managed to pull through at the very last second.
You mean like by the skin of your teeth?
Yes, like I passed that exam by the skin of my teeth. It's that feeling of relief, like, wow, I can't believe I made it.
And there's definitely an element of luck involved in those situations.
For sure. Like fate was testing you. Okay, let's go back to don't cry over spilled milk for a minute.
Okay.
I think it offers such a powerful perspective on dealing with setbacks.
Like, it's not just about accepting mistakes. It's about reframing them as opportunities for growth.
Right. Dwelling on the past won't change anything,
Hmm.
but taking action in the present can create a better future.
I love that. It's like saying, okay, that didn't work out, but what can I do differently next time?
Now, here's an idiom that seems kind of negative, but it's actually a way to wish someone good luck.
You mean break a leg?
Exactly.
It's so counterintuitive, but I love the theatrical history behind it.
It's like you're reverse jinxing them.
Yep.
By wishing for something bad, you're actually hoping for the opposite.
It's amazing how language reflects these ancient beliefs and rituals.
It is. Now, let's talk about a more modern obsession, efficiency.
Oh, here we go.
I'm thinking of kill two birds with one stone.
Yes. The multitasking master's dream.
But as we discussed before, it's all about finding that balance, right?
Yeah, we don't want to get so caught up in killing birds that we forget to enjoy the process,
Sometimes it's okay to just focus on one task, to savor the moment.
to appreciate the small victories.
And speaking of appreciation,
What about appreciating a good night's sleep?
exactly. Hit the sack. It's like a declaration of self-care. Time to recharge, dream big, and maybe even conjure up some new idioms.
Love it. Well, it looks like we've reached the end of part 2 of our deep dive.
It's amazing how much ground we've covered. But we're not done yet.
Welcome back to the show. I feel like we've covered so much ground already. It's amazing how much you can learn about a culture just from its idioms.
I know, right? It's like these little phrases are packed with history and meaning.
You know, so far we've been focusing on how you can use these idioms, right, to make your English sound more natural and fluent.
Yeah.
But there's another side to this, isn't there? Like, what about when you're listening to other people speak English?
Oh, I see what you mean. You're talking about being able to recognize idioms when you hear them.
Exactly. Because sometimes you might encounter a phrase that just sounds completely strange, you know?
Like it doesn't make any literal sense.
Right. Like, imagine someone says, I'm going to hit the books if you don't know the idiom.
You might think they're going to attack their textbooks or something.
Exactly.